Hello, I'm Patty McCormick with the Institute of Holistic Leadership, and I want to welcome you to this presentation probably on, I think I say this about every topic that I do a presentation on or lecture, but one of my favorite. It's probably what I use for 90% of my own personal wellness, prevention, healing. So today's program is going to be about clinical aromatherapy. As you saw on the screen, others of you who have seen me before, I am a registered nurse. I always say as an RN, I never know if that stands for registered nurse or really neurotic, and this is where the really neurotic comes in, because in our school, I've been doing this and have had the school for over 40 years. One of the things that I've always done is develop the curriculum and then teach the program. Well, what happened for us is I developed the program and I realized that I did not have any essential oils. I had some that I had been using, but I needed to bring some into the classroom. And so this is where the really neurotic comes in, because as I was doing my education, as I was learning about clinical aromatherapy, one of the things that I was learning is there's a huge issue with purity of essential oils. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So I started studying. I started visiting essential oil companies. I'm going to tell you some of those quality measures that I used so that I could be assured that the oils were pure. So I'm going to be explaining all of that to you in this presentation. You might want to grab a pen or pencil and paper if you're a note taker. If not, just sit back, listen, relax, and enjoy. Now, my only issue is we haven't figured out how to do smell-o-vision yet. So you're not going to be able to smell these oils, but at least you can write down what they are and what they're going to be used for. And our focus today is aromatherapy for the immune system. We've had a lot going on, and I think it's important for all of us at all times to keep our immune system strong. So let's start with a little background about aromatherapy. The first is, what is aromatherapy? And let me tell you what it's not. It is not that purple candle at your local gift shop that says relaxation. It is not the dishwashing liquid that says green apple aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is actual, and as a matter of fact, I have family in Germany, and when I have visited them, aromatherapy is part of their health care. I have a friend who's a physician over in Europe, and he said, I'm going to be so glad when in the United States you stop calling it healthcare and holistic health, because over there it's fully integrated. It's very common to go into a hospital, receive traditional care, and at the same time have aromatherapy going on your nightstand or your bedside stand to help you with your pain or your nausea or insomnia or anxiety. That's just very common. We're catching up over here in the United States, but we're not there yet. So let me define what aromatherapy is for you. And it's the use of essential oils for helping balance the body, the mind, the emotions. As a nurse, it's very important to me that I present information that has research behind it. And not research. I love holistic health, and I kind of joke, not research from the Holistic Herald. But for example, if any of you want to find this research, this is a website, PubMed.com. It's where medical research is actually published, double-blind, evidence-based, all of those quantifiers for adequate research. And there, if you would go to that website, Google in PubMed.com, it'll take you to another site, and then you will put in the search box, lavender for anxiety. Lavender essential oil or lavender oil for anxiety. You're going to get several articles where they have utilized lavender with patients who are dealing with anxiety and got significant positive results. So there is research out there, and that's why it's utilized in many of the hospitals. As I said, we're catching up, and we're going to be there soon. But what we need is adequate education, and we need individuals to understand these are not perfumes. You don't just dump them on your body. In many of my presentations and many of the shows we've been doing, you may have or you will continue to hear me say, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's safe. And you have to have, again, some education. One of the things I talk about is when I'm over in Germany and there's my 10-year-old little cousin, and I say to him, boy, I've got a headache. What pill could I take? Many times they don't know. Over here, a 10-year-old could list them. They could list aspirin and Tylenol and Motrin and ibuprofen. And if I said, how many would I take? They would probably know too, because of all the advertising. But if I said to a 10-year-old kid, hey, I get this headache, what essential oil could I use? Here in the United States, they might not know what oil, how to use it safely. So we don't have a societal knowledge of clinical aromatherapy, and that's what this show is going to be about today, to give you some information so that you can begin, if you don't already know, you can begin to integrate holistic health and aromatherapy oils into your life safely, so that you're actually promoting wellness and not doing any harm to you, your family, your loved ones, and your friends. So that's what aromatherapy is. It's a use of essential oils. Now, what is an essential oil? Well, again, I'm going to start out with what it's not. It's not a fragrance. It is not a synthetic. It is not made in a chemical company. It is made from a plant. It is taken from the plant, usually through steam distillation. There's some other ways they can take it out also. There's a CO2 process that they can remove some oils from the plant. But for the most part, it is a steam distillation process. So the actual plant is where the essential oil should come from. I'm going to touch on the history just briefly, because I think this is fascinating, how aromatherapy was founded. You know, people think this is something new that came out in the 70s and the 80s. Aromatherapy is listed in the Bible. You'll see nard oil and frankincense. So aromatherapy was even used back in biblical days. The Romans used to scent their flags. You may not be aware of this, but during the World War II, World War I, they were actually using essential oils at the front lines for war wounds when they couldn't get antibiotics to the front lines. So it has been utilized, again, primarily over in Europe, but it has been utilized. Well, around 1928, there was a French cosmetic chemist, because when essential oils were used, they were used in cosmetics, skincare. And a French cosmetic chemist named Gattefossé, he burned his hand in the lab. And he instead of sticking his hand in the vat of cold water, which we're taught to do, he accidentally stuck it in the vat of lavender. Being a scientist, brought his hand out, noticed the aroma, noticed the pain started to leave, and over a short period of time noticed no burning, no pain, no infection, very rapid healing. From that moment on, he started studying aromatherapy for healing and actually coined the term aromatherapy. Now, depending on what book you read, it's anywhere from that happened in 1928 to 1935. But that's when they began to look at aromatherapy as a healing science, not just for cosmetic use. How does aromatherapy work? Again, I'm doing a little lecture. I mean, I'm doing a 2-hour lecture in 30 minutes. So we're going to cover all of this briefly. If you want more information, you'll see our website at the end of the show, and you can jot it down and contact us. We have our email on there. Oh, how kind of you. They put the website up now for you. We will, you can contact us, you can call us, and we can give you this information, help you get more, tell you what books might be advantageous to utilize as reference books. But how does aromatherapy work? Well, there's a couple different ways it works. Number one, let me say this now, and you're going to hear this a couple times during the show. Never, ever, 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 ever take an essential oil orally. I know there are many companies out there telling people to do that. We are starting to notice effects from people consuming essential oils. The problem is that's one of the reasons that we have a clinical aromatherapy program, so people can be clinical aromatherapists. A lot of times it's salespeople that are recommending these oils, and I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying the education isn't there, and they're doing what their company says. And so what happens is people are drinking these essential oils, they're putting it in their water, they're putting it in honey and taking it, and people end up, after a while, having symptomology. I use cigarettes as an example. The very first cigarette someone smoked, besides some coughing and irritation, really didn't cause a health issue. It was a long-term effect. The same is happening with aromatherapy. It's the long-term effect. So I've actually had calls I had a call from an emergency room physician up in Columbus. He called, he said, I heard you're a nurse, you do aromatherapy. I have a question. I have someone here with burns in their esophagus. They said they've been drinking essential oil. Do you know anything about this? And I said, yes, there's some companies. He didn't look at the phone. I could just hear a sigh, and he said, why the heck does someone tell people to drink essential oils? Because they're extremely potent. And I cleaned that up for television. So, and I apologized and said, I don't know. He was able to equate the two. I had someone else who had elevated liver enzymes because they had been drinking oils, essential oils, and they had been drinking copious, very large amounts of the essential oils, and their liver enzymes were elevating. Unfortunately, The physician didn't know enough about aromatherapy. They can't learn everything. And the sales rep didn't realize the liver enzymes might be or the essential oils might be causing the liver enzymes to go up. So there's a huge disconnect between these two communities. And so again, never take them orally. Applying them to your skin, inhaling them. When you inhale an oil, you inhale the molecules that enters your body. People say to me, well, no, wait a minute. If someone's lost, you're going to be lecturing oils on the immune system. If someone loses their sense of smell, are they going to work? And I say, yes, they'll work. And they go, yeah, she's one of those aromatherapy people. Well, let me ask you this. If someone had lost their sense of smell due to a brain injury, or they had a really bad cold, and they walked into a room that had poisonous gas in it, and they couldn't smell anything, would that poisonous gas still affect them negatively? Yes. So just because you don't have the olfactory sensation, that doesn't mean the molecules do not enter your body and can cause a physiological and an emotional response, depending on what they're inhaling. So even if someone can't smell, aromatherapy can also work just as well. So we're going to talk about application, and we're going to talk about smelling the essential oil, which is inhalation. One thing I do want to touch on briefly, and then we're going to get into some oils that you can use to keep your immune system strong or help you if you happen to become ill. And I want to talk about purity of essential oils. 98% of the essential oils sold in the United States are not pure. 98%. It is, and this is, one area that I believe education is critical because it is a non-regulated industry. So are vitamins and supplements, so are herbals. No one is checking to make sure that what they say they're putting in that bottle is actually in that bottle. So I could have a bottle and it said lemon oil, and it can say pure, and it can say therapeutic grade, and it can say all these different things on it. And the only thing that means is it was printed on the label, because no one is checking. In Europe, they have the German Commission E, and the German Commission E is comparable to the FDA or the USDA. Their focus is on herb supplements, essential oils. We do not have that over here. So you really need to be an educated consumer, because you are basically wasting your money, and you probably won't be getting the results, and you may even have some issues like allergies. I've had people say, oh, I can't go in the stores and smell those candles and stuff. I can't take that aromatherapy. That's not aromatherapy. That's smelling synthetics that a factory made, and that's why you have the allergic response, the sneezing, the watery eyes, and things like that. So there is a specific test, and I don't want to get into, in this lecture, high-end aroma chemistry. But what I do want to tell you is there's a specific test called gas chromatography. And I think they may be able to put up on, they're going to post a picture of a gas chromatography printout, maybe, and we may not be able to do that, but we'll check and see. I'm going to keep talking, and if I see it up there, I'll stop for a moment. But actually, gas chromatography is the test for purity. And what should happen with a good company, if I got up tomorrow and I wanted to be Patty's Aromatherapy Company, what I would do is I would call a broker, and let's say I wanted lavender. And let's say I wanted lavender to help someone who had a cold, to relax, and even help as the antiviral, antibacterial. Now I know I want lavender from France, because the lavender from France is a little higher in camphor. The lavender from Bulgaria is a little lower in camphor. It's a little sweeter. It's better for skincare products, and it's got a sweeter scent to it. So let's say I want lavender from France. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my broker. And in the perfect world, the farmer is the one who actually distilled from fresh lavender the essential oil, put it in a large vat. It gets shipped over to my front door as Patty's Oil Company, and I opened it up, and no one adulterated, cut, did anything with that essential oil. Put no chemicals in it, tried to dilute it. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Unfortunately, a lot happens to these essential oils, so they're diluted. They're cut, things are added to them, specific components are taken out to put in other cosmetic pieces, and so what you end up with, or it is just simply a fragrance. It is not they've put lemon on it, they put pure, they put all of this, but it's a fragrance oil. It is not an essential oil from a plant, and that's where you get your healing properties. When your essential oil comes from the plant. So from now on, when I say essential oil, that's what I'm talking about. This is where all of a sudden I decided I need to do a lot of studying. I need to do a lot of visiting because I was very naive. This was 25, 30 years ago. I'd pick up a phone and I'd say, hey, I'm Patty McCormick. I own a school. I want to bring some oils into the classroom for teaching. Do you do gas chromatography testing? And I would hear sometimes, what is that? I would hear, that's not important. I would hear like that old commercial on television, yeah, we do that. That is, that kind of gave me an idea that they weren't doing gas chromatography testing. So what I do is I insist, if I'm going to use essential oils from a company, I insist that they do the gas chromatography testing, keywords, of every batch they bottle, and I can get, whenever, and I'm willing to pay for it, I can get a notarized statement from their corporate president or their corporate attorney stating that they do the gas chromatography testing of every batch they bottle. There, at this point, are only 3 companies that I will work with. Be careful when you're out there doing your research. Marketing is amazing. There's one company out there that says we have a third party that does our gas chromatography testing, and they assure that we do that, and the third party is actually related to them. So, you just have to really be careful with this, and that's why I ask for a notarized statement. The 3 companies, as an educator, that I'm going to share with you that I will use them, I can get them into hospitals and medical facilities, and I'll use them on my grandkids. So that lets you know how much I trust these. One company is called Tisserand, Tisserand. Another one is Swiss Aromatics. And then another one is called Amrita, Amrita. Amrita. Now, these are available throughout the area. They're available online. And again, if you would like to know local sources or even online ordering information, contact the school and I'll be happy to email that information to you. So, that you can see our website there. This gives you the information that I can give you the information so that you can order or obtain information from those companies. So that being said, let's move on to another component that I think is very important, and it's called Latin Binomial. And at this point, you may be yawning, you may be reaching for that tea or coffee and say, this is just getting too. Let me discuss it very quickly. Please know a rose is not a rose is not a rose. I can tell you I have a rose garden, or I can tell you I have a Mr. Lincoln and a peace rose, or I can give you that Latin name that's on the little tag. The Latin binomial tells you exactly what that plant is. And it's the same thing with, that is what a Latin binomial is. And it's the same thing with essential oils. That's their Latin binomial. So I'm going to use eucalyptus as an example. Number 1, there is Eucalyptus globulus. Eucalyptus globulus is amazing for the respiratory system. It breaks down mucus, it's antiviral, it's antibacterial, but it is not child safe. Another eucalyptus that you could use is Eucalyptus radiata. It's antiviral, antibacterial, it is child safe. And then there's another one called Eucalyptus citriodora. Eucalyptus citriodora is actually better for muscle massage. It relaxes muscle fibers. If someone has back spasms or something like that, it helps relax those muscle fibers so that they can just calm down, stop being in that spasm. But if you just pick up a bottle that says eucalyptus on it, you do not know what you're getting. And that's, many companies want to do that because they just want to dump everything together. So in addition to buying from a company that does gas chromatography testing, you also want to make sure that you buy from a company that puts the Latin binomial on the bottle so that you can read it. Now, don't turn that into, oh, well, this has got the Latin binomial on it, so that means this is a pure, wonderful oil. No, it means they printed it on the label. But again, pending that you're purchasing from an essential oil company that does gas chromatography testing, then you want to make sure it's the Latin Binomial that's on the bottle. I always kind of tease. It's kind of like if I was sitting here with two of my cousins, and you would look at us and we're all blonde, and you know the bleach bottles help mine along the way a little bit, but we're all blonde, and we use our hands a lot when we communicate, and we're fair complected. But if you took a few minutes to learn the difference, let's say over here's Tom McCormick, and Tom's a brilliant CPA, firm in Columbus, firm in Cincinnati. I'm Patty McCormick. When I add 2 and 2 and get 4, I'm having a good day mathematically. What I am pretty strong is curriculum development and like biosciences and holistic health for health professionals and the general public. Now over here's my other cousin. My other cousin is Betty McCormick. Betty's in education also, and I primarily focus on adults. Betty's in preschool education. She can entertain a 4-year-old for hours. So I always ask the question, in that 30 seconds, almost 30 seconds that I talked about the McCormicks, if it were tax time and you needed a McCormick to help you, which one would you choose? Hopefully you would choose Tom, or you're going to be in big trouble with Betty or I. Now, if you know Latin binomials exist, and when you're looking them up, and you're trying to decide which one to use, you look it up by the Latin binomial, you're going to get a better product for what you happen to be needing the essential oil for. So that's the component of Latin binomials. How to use essential oils, and again, we will do this quickly. The first is diffusing. It can be very high tech. So you get your bottle, you do this, unscrew it, and you do that. And that's it. That's high tech, very personal inhalation of oils. That's taking the oils and the molecules of the oils into your olfactory system. But most of us like to diffuse, and this is where I need to do some clarifying also. In diffusing, your diffuser should never heat. Heat destroys the therapeutic value of the oils, and you should never use one of those beautiful water misters, because that ultrasonic mist can actually irritate the bronchial tubes. I've worked with a pulmonologist who would not let his patients, we used aromatherapy for asthma and other respiratory issues, but he would not let the mist be used because of its bronchial irritation that it can cause. So those are two diffusers types of diffusers you don't want to use. What you do want to use is a diffuser that uses room air. Now this is an example of what I use, and I will show you. It's a wonderful little, I have these all over my house. It runs off batteries. It comes with a cord that plugs into your computer. It has a little microfiber pad that you put your oils on, and then I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but on the bottom there's a little fan, and you can kind of see it there, and then it starts to move when I push the batteries. Push the light. So this is a wonderful, inexpensive diffuser that sends out at room air. So when you're looking at diffusing, read the instructions, read the description, and make sure it diffuses at room air. And that way you're going to get the pure essential oil, you're going to get the molecules that your body can take in. And I mentioned application of essential oils, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So that's diffusing and inhalation. Applying the oils to your skin. I'm going to give you a formula because, with the exception of lavender, every essential oil needs to be diluted before you apply it to your skin. I'm going to give you the formula. 3 tablespoons of any kitchen oil, 3 tablespoons, and 3 to 4 drops of essential oil. 3 tablespoons and 3 drops. Okay. That is the formula for mixing all essential oils, because 1 drop of essential oil can be equal to 70 to 80, let's 70 to 80, 70 to 80 capsules of the dried herb and some of the chemical constituents. They're extremely, extremely potent. So that's why you always want to dilute them. You'll always want to look up the oil and make sure it's not a skin irritant. When I say safe for children, that's a group of people. It's someone at the end stage of disease. It's a frail older adult. You would not use it on your pet. Yes, I have cats, and I use my diffuser, but my cats usually run from it because cats normally don't like scents like this. So those are things that the diffusers are ways that you can get the oils out into the air so that you can inhale them. The application actually has it on your body so that your body can absorb it. So let's talk about some oils that you can use for your immune system. And the first one is lavender. Lavender is safe for everyone. It is antiviral. It is antibacterial. It is wonderful to use around kids. I've set up daycare centers diffusing lavender, usually at nap time, to help them rest. And at the same time, now there's always a question about allergies. The rule is if you're allergic to the plant, don't use the oil. Not if you're allergic to a lavender skin lotion that you purchase, because that's probably a synthetic. So lavender's the first one you should bring into your house. Another one is thyme. Thyme, and there's thyme borneal, which is a little stronger, and thyme linalool. Thyme is an antibacterial. The borneal stronger. The linalool, or the linalool, depending on what the company calls it, is a little softer. It's still powerful. It's just, you can use it diluted on the skin. And I have used thyme linalool around little kids, maybe around, I'd say 7, 8 and older. You can use it either on their chest. Eucalyptus is a wonderful oil to use with children also because of its radiata, Eucalyptus radiata, because of its antiviral properties. Another one that I use a lot is bay laurel essential oil. Bay laurel actually can help in the production of white blood cells, and we want those white blood cells to increase to help fight off the infection. Again, in almost every essential oil is antiviral and antibacterial. It's one of the reasons when the Great Plague went through Europe, most of the perfumiers, and back then they used essential oils, were immune from getting the plague because they were around these oils that were so potent for them. Another one I want to mention is cajeput. Cajeput is an amazing oil if someone has a residual cough. Have you ever got the flu or a cold and you felt fine, but a month later you were coughing? Utilizing cajeput oil, mixing it in the formula that I gave you, the 3 tablespoons and 3 to 4 drops, and rubbing it lightly on the neck or on the upper chest, it is amazing what that can actually do for a cold, for the cough. Again, it will help break up mucus. It will help open the sinuses. But at the same time, it'd be absolutely amazing for that cough. I had someone who couldn't sleep and was on several different medications for it. And the minute they started the cajeput, they were able to sleep well and stop the coughing. So that is another one that you can utilize. There is an essential oil that I absolutely love, and that is called spruce. Spruce, again, from the spruce tree. It is antiviral. I feel like I'm, a broken record saying this. Antiviral, antibacterial. A lot of the trees, the trees that we call, holiday trees or Christmas trees, have essential oils in them that actually prevent respiratory infections. The other thing that spruce does is many times when we're sick, we become exhausted and we experience some fatigue in our adrenals. We kind of try to push through with coffee and sugar and things like that. Spruce helps make the adrenal glands stronger, so it helps with the fatigue that sometimes comes along when you're experiencing a cold or a flu or just the aftermath healing of it. It's absolutely amazing for that. So I've given you my arsenal, the ones that I have in my bathroom drawer, that whenever I feel a cold or a flu coming on, that I immediately run to these and start using them. I'm either diffuse for about 20 minutes out of an hour, maybe 4 to 5 times a day, definitely at bedtime, or I will make it into that application formula and apply it to my skin. And that way you'll inhale it also. So please honor the safety precautions that I gave you. I'm not just saying that because I'm a really neurotic nurse. I am saying that because I want you to really begin to utilize aromatherapy, one of the most phenomenal healing, holistic healing tools out there for all of us, and yet I want you to use it safely. I want you to be safe. I want it to be healthy. I want you to be healthy, and I want to thank you for joining us tonight. So thank you so much.